Hello, my lovely grade 7 class. Welcome to StudyWave Academy, where education is without limits. Let's continue and welcome to our English class of exploring these parts of speech. And as we all know, our main focus for today is on, who can tell us? Nouns. So our main focus for today is on nouns. So I've looked at the key points to consider for us to know what nouns are. I've looked at the functions, and right now I was just introducing the types of nouns. And here we had the common nouns, proper nouns, concrete nouns, abstract nouns, countable nouns and countable nouns, collective nouns and compound nouns. We have gerund nouns and the non-verbal, the verbal noun or the infinitive noun. So right now we are going to focus on each one of them and give better description on each one of them so that we can well understand what they are. Okay, so let's dive in and look at the common nouns. So common nouns are general nouns or general names for people, places, things, or ideas, and are not specific to any particular entity. So with the common nouns, like I said, we have dog, we have city, we have book, we have people, we have father, we have mothers. All these are common nouns. They're not specific. They're just naming people or city or dog. So just being general. So in these examples, the dog refers to any canine, okay? City is a general term for urban areas, and book is a common term for a written or printed work. So you're not specific about the book. You're just saying books. So it's not like an English textbook or a science textbook. No, here you're just being general. Okay, so that is what common nouns are. Do not forget about that. So again, it's very easy to understand this concept. Okay, so common nouns, again, they're just general. Common nouns, they're just general names. Names of people, names of places. When you talk about a dog, you're not specific what dog you're talking about. When talking about a city, we don't know what city you're talking about. You're just giving a general idea or a general entity here. You're not being specific. Okay. Then next we have the proper nouns. So with the proper nouns here, contrary to the common nouns, proper nouns are specific names for individual people, places, or things, and they are used usually we capitalize them. We must capitalize the first letter or the initial letter. So with proper nouns, again, they are specific. Do not forget that. So what names like John, Paris, the Great Gatsby, okay? So we have maybe Kenya, Nigeria. All these names that I'm mentioning are specific. You're not talking about any other country but Nigeria. You're not talking about any other country but Kenya. You're not talking about any other boy but John. You're not talking about any other city but Paris. Okay? Do not forget about proper nouns. And then one thing again, look at how we've written our common nouns. Look at our common nouns. So when you read the word dog, when you read the word city, when you read the word book, you notice that they're just written in the same format, like all of them are small letters. There's nothing, or there's no big deal. You just write them, okay? But when you come to proper nouns, the first letter, they must be written in a capitalized manner. You must capitalize the first initial letter. So for example, when talking about maybe Nigeria, okay? You can't write it like this. Let me write it again. Sorry, I'm using my laptop and it's so hard to write. Let me get an easy word. For example, Sam, okay? So when I'm writing maybe the name Sam, so I won't write maybe Sam like that, but I will make sure I include a capital S, okay? I won't write a small s. When I'm talking about Nigeria, I won't start with an N that looks like that. No, but I'll make sure to write a capital N for Nigeria. Let me write my N well. Again, sorry, I'm using my laptop, makes it hard. It makes it hard, sorry. So you notice that when you're writing names, when you're writing proper nouns, Nigeria, you won't write this. No, this is wrong. But you will write this. You'll make sure that you start with the capital letter when you're writing this proper nouns. Do not forget about that, okay? So even our names here, John, Parry, The Great Gatsby, all these are proper nouns, and therefore we have to begin writing them with a capital letter. So for example, here the name John is for a specific person or a specific boy. You're not just saying any boy, but you're saying John. When you talk about Parry, it's not just any city, but a particular city or a particular town, and that is Parry, okay? When you talk about The Great Gatsby, this is just not any other book or just any other book, but The Great Gatsby is a title of a specific book. You want to read this book specifically, okay? Do not forget about that. So that is what we talk about, the proper nouns. The next one is the concrete nouns. Concrete nouns refer to tangible or physical entities that can be perceived or can be perceived, These are entities that can be perceived through the five senses. That you can see them. So when we talk about the five senses, I know you know them. You can try and name some five senses. We have the sense of sight, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of touch, okay, sense of hear or hearing, okay. So all these senses, you can perceive them through these concrete nouns. For example, a table, you can see a table, you can touch it, okay. When you move the table around, you can hear it make noise. When the table smells bad or someone hasn't wiped it well, you can smell the table smelling bad. An apple, you can smell an apple, you can touch it, you can see it, A car, you can hear the car move, you can hear the car horns or horning, okay. You can hear all this, you can see it, you can touch it. So these are concrete nouns, okay. Do not forget about that. Then when you're talking about like these nouns, they represent things that can be seen, touched, taste, smelt or heard. You can taste an apple, you can see a car, you can touch a table, right? You can hear the car move. So these are what we call concrete nouns, okay. Abstract nouns. Now with the abstract nouns, they represent intangible concepts. They represent qualities or ideas that cannot be perceived through the senses. So for example, the abstract noun like love, freedom, happiness, sadness, you can't see love, you can't touch love, but you can feel them. So one thing, class, that I want to mention today is that with the concrete nouns, you can feel. Let me even write it here so that we can see. Yes. So this is very important. With the concrete nouns, you can feel, but you can't use your five senses to like perceive them. You cannot perceive them through your senses. You cannot see love, you cannot hear love, you cannot touch love, but you can feel, okay. So you can't perceive through your senses. Don't forget that. You cannot touch happiness, but you can feel happiness, okay. You cannot touch freedom, but you can feel the sense of freedom. Do not forget that. So these nouns signify concepts and emotions or emotions that are not physically tangible but are important in the human experience. Emotions like happiness, love, freedom, these are emotions that you experience but you can't see them, you can't touch them. So those are the abstract nouns, okay. Then we have the countable nouns. The countable nouns, just from the names, these are nouns that can be counted and quantified, okay, as individual items or a unit. For example, 2 dogs, 3 apples, 1 mother, one father, 1 student, 2 classes. These are countable nouns that you can count. These nouns can be used with numbers and have both singular and the plural form. Singular of mother, or already mother is a singular or a singular noun, but mothers is in a plural. Student, students, teacher, teachers. So you see, you can see the singular form of this noun and you can see the plural form of this noun. So those are countable nouns. Just from the names or from the name, countable nouns and nouns that can be counted. Contrary to that, you have the uncountable nouns. Now these are nouns that represent substances, concepts, or qualities that cannot be counted as a district unit. I talked about water, knowledge, happiness, and I told you there's some similarity between the abstract, let me show you, similarity between these abstract nouns and the uncountable nouns. You can't count love, you can't count freedom, you can't count happiness. When you come to uncountable nouns, you can't count happiness, you can't count knowledge, you can't count water. So with the countable nouns, they're just nouns that you can't quantify them. These are nouns that are usually considered as a mass noun and do not have distinct plural form. You can say waters, knowledges, or happinesses. You can't say something like that. You can't give them the plural. Compared to the countable nouns, you can say mother, mothers, teacher, teachers, chair, chairs, table, tables. So you can give the plural and the singular form of the countable nouns. But when you come to uncountable nouns, you can't give them the singular form, but you put them as if they show the mass noun. For example, water. You're talking about a mass of water, okay? When talking about happiness, it's just like a general concept of happiness, okay? Or this feeling of happiness. So uncountable nouns cannot be counted. Then we have collective nouns. Like I said, these collective nouns refer to groups or collections of people, animals, and things. For example, a team of players, a herd of sheep, a family of friends. Do not forget that these collective nouns just show a group. So that these nouns treat a group as a singular entity. So for example, you have players of a basketball team or football team. You will put them to form like a one group or just a team or a group, and you will use these collective nouns to show them as one entity. So the nouns are treated as a single entity, but the members within the group are counted individually. So for example, a team, that is one entity, but inside the team we have maybe 10 members, 11 members. So this is the collective noun. So these are collective nouns. Then we have compound nouns. With the compound nouns, they are formed by combining two or more words to create a single noun. For example, tooth and brush, toothbrush, base and ball, baseball, mother and in-law, mother-in-law, foot and ball, football. You notice that each one of them is specifically a noun on its own, and then when you bring them together, you form a single word. Like for example, basket and ball, basketball, toothbrush, baseball, mother-in-law. So we have this compound nouns, and I know now you know the compound nouns. You just bring two nouns together and combine them to form one entity. And not all of the nouns can be combined. You can take mother and chair and say mother chair. No, it has to make sense. Toothbrush, tooth and brush, baseball, base and ball, football, foot and ball, basketball, basket and ball. So those are what concrete nouns are. Then next, when you look at the gerund nouns now, here we talked about these nouns are formed by adding ing to a verb, okay? So for example, swimming is fun. What is your noun here? Swimming. So swimming is a gerund noun. So these are nouns that are formed by adding ing to them, or you take a verb and add an ing to them to represent an action or an activity. So swimming acts as a noun in the sentence, referring to the activity of swimming, okay? So swimming is fun. Eating is the best. Playing is fun. So you notice that these are sentences, but now you make the verbs a noun by adding the ing, and that's what we call the gerund nouns. Do not forget about that. So gerund nouns are just formed when verbs are added ing to them. Do not forget that. So gerund are the nouns formed from verbs by adding ing. So they are nouns that are formed from verbs. Do not forget about that. Nouns that are formed from verbs by adding the ing to them, okay? So for example, you say swimming is fun, learning is fun, running is tiresome. You notice that these are verbs, but you add ing to them to make them nouns. So that is what we call the gerund nouns. Then lastly, we have the verbal noun or the infinitive noun. Verbal nouns are formed from infinitive verbs or the base form that are used to express action in a more abstract way. For example, to swim is an enjoyable activity. To swim here is a verbal noun representing the action of swimming. So you notice that some sentences are formed like this, where the nouns are formed from infinitive verbs. Infinitive is something that never ends. So you're saying that like swimming as something that is endless, to swim is an enjoyable activity. So it shows like in an infinitive or a base form, okay? So an example here is to swim. So to swim becomes your noun in this sentence. So that is what verbal nouns are, or infinitive nouns are. Okay,